And now you see the note on December 17th, 2015?
Yes.
And you wrote RN in contact with client to notify her that she'd be able to deliver medications to her home. RN waited at door for several minutes after knocking. Client greeted RN at door looking disheveled. Hair appeared unbrushed. Client appeared weepy and sad. Posture is slouched. Client told RN about argument with husband. RN offered emotional support, but reminded client that RN could not stay as was on duty with another client and was only visiting in order to deliver medication. Per client, she had not had contact with husband since altercation. Client had visible bright red blood appearing at center of lower lip. When RN made client aware that she was actively bleeding on her lip, client stated it was from injury sustained in the, and then it's blank. You see that? And then we can keep going down in the argument between her and her husband, and that it continues to bleed actively. You wrote that?
Yes.
And then you also wrote clients also states that her head is bruised and that she lost clumps of hair in altercation. You wrote that?
I assume so. It's in my notes.
Okay. And then you wrote, RN briefly looked at client's scalp but was unable to visualize the hematomas client had described. You wrote that?
Yes, I would agree.
And then you wrote, RN encouraged client to be seen by physician Dr. Kipper or go to emergency urgent care for thorough assessment. You see that?
I do.
And then you wrote, client states she will contact Dr. Kipper tomorrow. Client is supported by friends Rocky and IO who will be staying in client's home with her. You wrote that?
I agree, yes.
Okay. And then on December 18th, 2015, you wrote, client states she went to Dr. Kipper's office and was assessed by NP Monroe T as Dr. Kipper was out of the office. You wrote that?
Yes.
And NP stands for nurse practitioner?
That's correct.
And you understand Monroe T stood for Monroe Tinker?
Yes.
Do you recall if Mr. Depp ever forgot to take any of his medication?
At a specific time or ever?
In any time where you were working with him?
I would say vaguely, yes.
Ms. Falati, I'm showing what's been marked as Exhibit 11 to your deposition, which is Falati 96 through 106. You see that?
Yes.
You recall receiving this text message, right?
A vague memory of this.
Do you recall if you spoke to Amber after you received this text message? Or at any time after you received this text message around May 21st, May 22nd, 2016?
Are you saying a phone call or just?
Yeah. Phone call.
I don't really recall.
It could have happened, you just don't recall one way or the other?
I would agree with that.
Okay. And you received this picture from Amber?
That's correct.
What is this picture of?
I was just asking if you could scroll down. Well, could you rewind it just a little?
Ms. Heard.
And does the picture show redness under Ms. Heard's eyes?
You can answer as a lay person if she has such an opinion. If you have an opinion one way or the other, you can let them know.
I'm not an expert, so, I mean, there's color on her face in different areas. I don't know what's what.
And you received this first picture of Amber at 12:36 a.m., correct?
That's the timestamp there.
And you received another picture at 12:36 a.m.?
It appears so.
And who do you see in that picture?
Also Ms. Heard.
And you received a third picture of Amber at 12:36 a.m.?
Yes, it appears so.
And is that third picture of Amber?
Yes, that's Ms. Heard.
And you received the fourth picture of Amber at 12:36 a.m.?
Then yes,
And this fourth, I think just so it's clear, the fourth picture is of Amber, correct?
that's correct.
And you received that at 12:36 a.m.?
Yes, that's the timestamp.
And these are pictures of Amber's face, correct?
Yes, that's a picture of her face and neck.
Do you recall receiving those pictures?
Like I said, I have a vague memory of this, but I don't specifically remember receiving it.
Okay. Do you know if you reported these pictures or what Ms. Heard reported to you to Dr. Kipper?
I would assume that if any information was presented to me, I would have contacted Dr. Kipper.
And do you know how you would have contacted Dr. Kipper?
No, I depending on the date, time, I would sometimes call, email, text.
Do you recall if you wrote nurse notes for this incident?
I don't recall.
Do you want us to look at Exhibit 2?
It's the nursing notes?
Yeah. Why don't we do
Sure.
that? So there's notes for May 11th, 2016. You see that?
Yeah.
And then the next notes for May 26th, 2016.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know why you didn't include notes for May 21st, 2016?
I don't know.
And on May 26th, you wrote, client texted RN requesting Ambien as she states she's suffering from insomnia due to stress and anxiety. Client reports, quote, having the hardest week of my life, end quote. You wrote that?
Yes.
And you wrote, client states she cannot deal with the negative media publicity she has received surrounding the divorce she requested from her husband, JD. Dr. Kipper notified Ambien 10 milligrams, QHS PRN 14 ordered. Per Dr. Kipper, client is encouraged to make appointment with Dr. Kipper in office to be assessed. Client did not respond. You wrote that?
Yes.
Ms. Falati, I'm showing you what's been marked as Exhibit 12 to your deposition, which is Falati 114 through 119. You can take a look through them. It appears to be notes of when you were Mr. Depp's nurse, as opposed to Ms. Heard. But feel free to take a look.
That's correct. I think these are my nursing notes in relation to Mr. Depp.
So client now is Mr. Depp, correct?
That's correct, because these nursing notes are in reference to Mr. Depp. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And in the nursing note for April 23rd, 2015, you wrote that Dr. Kipper will introduce Rosalind Phillip to Debbie RN and clients Amber H. and Johnny Depp. Debbie RN will assist in coordinating session appointments between clients and Ms. Phillips. Do you know if Mr. Depp and Amber ever saw Rosalind Phillip?
I don't know.
And at Falati 117, it shows notes for June 7th, 2016, correct?
That is correct.
You wrote, the following medications were approved per Dr. Kipper to be given to the client, and then there's a list of medications. you wrote these notes, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And did you understand that Mr. Depp was taking those medications as of June 7th, 2016?
Per this nursing note, it appears that he was taking these medications listed.
And then there's a nursing note for June 26, 2016. You see that?
Yes.
And it says, you wrote, client is going through divorce with wife Amber H. and is dealing with the loss of his mother, passed away 1 month ago. Client was provided with the divorce request from wife AH 3 days after mother passed away. You see that?
Yes.
And you wrote that?
Yes.
So is it your understanding that Amber asked for a divorce?
This note says that Mr. Depp was provided with divorce request from Ms. Heard, so it appears she was the one requesting the divorce.
Right, and you wrote, next, client states he was not aware AH wanted divorce and expresses confusion regarding AH's desire to terminate marriage. You wrote that?
Yes.
Is that what Mr. Depp told you?
I would assume if I wrote it in my notes.
Then you wrote, client's divorce has been highly publicized and wife AH has been accused him of several character damaging allegations, including domestic violence. You wrote that, correct?
Correct.
Was this on did you write this based on information Mr. Depp provided you?
I don't know. I would assume that I've had discussions with him regarding this, considering that this is a nursing note for Mr. Depp.
Did Mr. Depp tell you his character had been damaged as of June 2016?
I don't recall. I have to go by what my note says here. So it alludes to that's something that he had discussed.
And you see where you wrote, client states he felt helpless previously but is now angry at AH and wants to clear his name. Mr. Depp told you that?
Again, I don't recall for sure, but I would go back to my nursing notes because those were written more at the time. So I would assume that he and I discussed that.
Okay, farther down, you wrote, RN assisted client in processing feelings and encouraged client to continue utilizing individual therapy as he responded well to RN's use of therapeutic communication. You see that?
Yes.
And you wrote that, correct?
Yes.
Then you wrote, client is resistant, stating, quote, I don't want anyone like Amber's wife therapist. He has only made things worse, end quote. You see that?
Yes.
And you wrote that?
Yes.
And where it's quotes, I don't want anyone like Amber's therapist. He's only made things worse. That was something that Mr. Depp told you?
Again, as I have it in quotations, I assume he made that statement.
A little farther down, you wrote, throughout RN's visit, client maintains attention and is actively participating in conversation. Client consumed 3 vodka drinks during RN's seven-hour visit. Client did not eat during visit and drank water only with several prompts from RN. RN educated client on possible interactions between prescribed medication and alcohol. Client verbalized understanding but stated, quote, right now I need a little alcohol for all the bad things I'm going through, end quote. You wrote those lines?
Yes.
Say the document speaks best as to how many drinks Mr. Depp had?
Correct.
And that Mr. Depp drank 3 vodka drinks during your visit?
That's what my note says.
And then you said RN provided one-on-one emotional support and encouraged clients to limit and or abstain from alcohol and illicit drugs. You wrote that?
Yes.
Do you recall why you told Mr. Depp to abstain from illicit drugs?
No, but I did, and not just with Mr. Depp, but in my line of nursing, provide education always with any medication clients are on and contraindications.
You know if Mr. Depp ever took any illicit drugs during the 2014 to 2016 timeframe?
I don't know. I didn't witness him using any illicit drugs, so I can't speak to that.
Your Honor, at this point, the questioning switches over to questions for, by counsel for Mr. Depp. That's all right with us, Your Honor?
I'm sorry, let's go ahead and break for the evening. We will see you in the morning. Just do not discuss the case and do not do any outside research, all right? And we'll have the rest of this tomorrow morning, okay? Thank you.